Happy Friday, everyone. Hi, hello, and welcome back to another episode of VCTV. Today is a Friday. This is a weekend episode. This is the last day of the week, and I call it weekend episode of VCTV. And welcome back, speakers Vandana, Marine, Harsh, Karthik, Gary, and my co-moderator Maxine. So it's amazing. Thank you, and it's always awesome to be with you guys. It's like a family, VCTV family. And what else? So today we're going to we're going to discuss. We're going to it's not a topic about technology or any particular industry, but it's a topic about a person, a personality who is the CEO of a startup. Okay, so let's talk about him or her. How should this person look like, or how should this person behave like? What are his traits? So for an investor is investing in a startup, is he really investing in the company, the product, or is he investing in the people? So let's just hear all the details from our investor community today, with all their experience that they have in this space, to know more what makes a good CEO of a startup. So yes, before I start introducing my speakers, let me introduce myself. My name is Sunny Mohanty. I'm the regional director of LaToken based here in Singapore. I host VCTV, and I love doing that. Thank you so much for being a part of VCTV today. Let's start with the women I have in my panel today. Vandana, over to you. Please, let's start with you first. Your introduction and background, please.
Yeah, sure. Thank you, Sunny, for having me here over and over again. And nice to see you all, Dr. Madden, Harsh, Karthik, and Gary. Happy to see you almost every day, Gary. So that's really awesome. So I'll just introduce myself. I was in Singapore and Jakarta for 15 years in investment banking. I had my own family office fund there. This is my 6th year back in India. I did some investments, then I went back to advisory. Currently, I'm connected with 200 investors globally. I'm about to reach 250 over there. And we pick up global deals. We are sector agnostic. Typically, we do $1 million to $25 million. And please feel free to reach out to me. Thank you.
Perfect. Sure, Vandana, will do. Thank you so much. Next, I have Maren. Hi, Maren. Welcome back from Singapore. Hi, how are you? Long time.
Very well. Hello to everybody. So let me quickly introduce myself. So the headline would be From Traveler to Islander. So I'm living in Singapore since 2013 now. I'm the CEO of Schweizer's Großkapital and Family Office here in Singapore. I've spent my career in various industries. All started off in aviation, then in automotive electronics, and then I ended up in investment management. I'm sitting on the advisory board of HDI Global, which is an industrial insurance company in Germany, active in 150 countries. And I'm very happy to be here and share my perspectives on actually selecting, mentoring, and also endorsing C-levels in startups.
Oh, yes, that's very important. Thank you so much, Maren. We love to hear your insights. Thank you and welcome back on VCTV. Next, I'd like to go with Harsh. Hi, Harsh. Thanks for joining us back.
Hey Sony, glad to be back and glad to see familiar faces like Vanna, Karthik, and Gary, and meeting Marin for the first time as well. So, short bio about myself. I'm a venture partner with our ventures. I've founded my own startup group called Startup Hackers, where I'm helping early stage startups kind of grow their business. The group is available on Facebook and provide a lot of mentoring and guiding over there. I help in startups fundraise all the way from $1 million to $10 million across the world and helping them scale their businesses. So Indian businesses looking to expand globally or global businesses looking to expand into India, I help them out with strategic connections. And great to be a part of this panel again. Thank you.
Perfect. Thanks for that introduction and welcome back.
Thanks.
Karthik, welcome back on VCTV. It's a Friday in Dubai, which means it's a holiday. It's a public holiday. It's like a Sunday. So welcome back. Many thanks to be Many thanks to you to be here today.
Thank you so much for the records, episode number 72 with you guys, and it's always been fun. I represent a couple of family offices based in the UK and a venture fund based out of Qatar, and my own incubator, Idea Factory, which helps and supports startups in fintech and edutech. And at the same time, I'm mentoring 3 startups based out of India, primarily into the e-commerce and social media space. Actively involved in developing and incubating startups and setting up C-level advisories and recruiting C-level positions for startups.
Perfect. Thank you. Thank you, Karthik, for that intro. Last we have Gary. Hi, Gary. Good morning. How are you today?
Good morning. I feel like I'm on Family Hour here. I know everybody. I've been around 72 times. I think I've been around almost the whole 72, Karthik. I've seen you in many shows. So it's great to see everybody here. Anyway, my name's Gary Fowler. I'm a country boy. I was originally born in Pennsylvania, so grew up on the side of a mountain, a 500-person village. I'm the CEO, co-founder, and president of GSD Venture Studios, premier AI and quantum venture studio. I've been involved in 17 companies, 2 unicorns. I was on the original management team of Click Software, sold to Salesforce for $1.35 billion, and also Eva.ai, which company I founded almost 5 years, actually 5 years exactly.
Wow.
Ago. And I love AI. I read a lot. I've written 124 articles now, or just published Cognitive Cloud Computing yesterday. And my next article is on quantum tunneling and the impact on wireless communications. So that's it. It's great to be here. And I also started the first accelerator in Russia and the #1 private corporate accelerator, GVA. I actually co-founded both of those.
Perfect. Thank you, Gary. And yes, welcome back on VCTV again, and again. Thank you. Today I'm joined here by Maxime from LaToken Russia. Hi, Maxime.
Hi, Sony. Hi, everyone. So my name is Maxime, and today I will be co-moderating this great and insightful show. I hope it adds clarity on our key topic. Thank you, Sonia.
Thank you. Okay, great. Let's talk about this person, the CEO of the startup. So how do we identify great CEOs, which will lead to success in a long-term investment? As an investor, you want your money back. Nobody wants to lose money. So you are actually betting on this person, right? When you're investing, you are actually betting on the person who's the founder or the CEO. So how do you identify a great CEO? Let's start with Vandana.
Well, I would look into what is the track record of the CEO. How is he building up, or he or she is building up their company? What is their economic strength? What is the vision of the CEO? Whether they have the characteristics of being humble, have the perseverance, or they just want to, what are they planning? Are they planning to fail, or they are planning to succeed? So these are some of the factors I look into as when I look for investments, and I look into the CEO's characteristics and what is the educational background as well. I do look into that as well. So right. I think these are some of the important characteristics.
Education, yes, for sure. Thank you, Vandana. Marine, for you, how important it is to hire, when you're looking to hire the CEO of a company that you funded, that you've invested in, and what steps do you follow to make sure you are hiring the right person for the company?
Yeah, well, we are looking and assessing actually behavior in respect to leadership skills. So we are looking for 4 behaviors through assessment and a lot of personal talks. One is how supportive the person can be. Secondly is how well the person can operate with strong result orientation. So walk and deliver your talk. Nextly, how well the person can seek different perspectives. Also the corporate venture capital perspective, as well as inside-out perspectives. And fourth, how effectively the person can solve problems. So it's these 4 leadership traits. We are looking into it. before hiring somebody. Secondly, we are looking a lot into match with the team, match with other C-levels and existing teams. If the company does already exist and is up and running.
Right. Thank you, Marin, for that. Harsh, over to you, please.
Yeah. So I kind of have a slightly different take to that. I believe that the skills and characteristics of a CEO are different at different stages of a company, right? So when you're taking the company from 0 to 1, a different kind of skill set is required, a different set of personality is required. Likewise, if it's from 1 to 10, a different personality is required, a different skill set is required. Same for 10 to 100 and 100 and beyond. So we can't kind of generalize the kind of skill set and the personality that a person is required from the early stages to the later stages, right? And each and every stage requires a very specific type of trends, specific personalities, specific traits, etc., and specific skill sets. So we need a CEO, either a person who can kind of adapt to the skill set required at each stage, or he should be actually kind of willing that once he realizes that that stage is crossed, he should be willing to relinquish altogether, right? So one of my friends, he's actually been a successful former founder. He's worked in one startup and now founded a second startup. He's pretty clear that once a startup reaches a stage of 100, he kind of exits the operational sides of it. He still has the shareholding, but he exits the operation side of it and moves on to his next startup. And VCs actually love him for that, because they understand that once he exits out of that, VCs can then kind of drive the direction of the company the way they see fit. So it works well for both ways, where the promoter can work completely the way he wants to, the VCs can run the business the way they want to, and it's a win-win situation for everyone. So that is why we need to have a clear transition of skills that are required and clear understanding of the skills and the mindset required at each stage.
Right. Thank you so much. Karthik, over to you, please. What are your parameters for selecting that person?
So every time I set a CEO or recruit a CEO for a startup, I'm actually sending a man on a maiden voyage. It's like a captain of a ship, and he doesn't necessarily know where he is going. He just knows that he's been asked to go. So he necessarily needs to come in with a lot of risk-taking abilities. He needs to come in with a very strong vision, collaborative wisdom of trying to manage a stakeholders side of the business, as well as to manage the investors and to manage the co-founders, because all of them are going to come in with a lot of egos. More importantly, nimble-footedness and agility is going to be a key driver. Education is something that these days talent is available time a dozen. It's aptitude that matters more often, and aptitude of a startup CEO is critical. I necessarily do not look for rigid and SOP-driven CEOs in early stage of a business, but somebody who comes in with an ability to solve problems, manage ambiguity, manage expectations, and more importantly, meander the entire team. More often than not, when I see CEOs who come in with a baggage of 8 to 10 years of organizational leadership, are very, very risk averse. They don't even allow, or they do not build a buffer for the organization to make a mistake. While more often than not, startups are built on the premise of making mistakes and taking multiple U-turns in the first 1 year of the growth. So I think somebody who manages his resources, manages expectations, manages people, and more importantly, is a doer. A CEO in a startup is not a glass office position any longer. CEO in a startup is a guy on the front leading the show and doing it for others. So that's the kind of a CEO I would look at. As I get into a Series C or Series E funding, then I would try and bring in a corporate honcho who necessarily comes in with 20 years experience managing a lot of organizations. But otherwise, I would need a very strong, agile, smart guy. That's my definition of a CEO.
Perfect. Thank you, Karthik. Gary.
Yeah, sure. Well, when the original MBA was developed at Harvard University, the intention of that was to teach managers how to manage, not how to be an entrepreneur. So actually, risk is diametrically opposed to something that was taught at Harvard University for the first MBA. So flexibility, the ability to accept change, the ability to do customer development, to go out and reach out to see if people really want to buy the product or service. Humble. Harsh was right on target with the fact that there are different types of personalities at different levels within a company that can succeed. So you look at it, and for Series A, Series B, C, at some point you need to be operational. I say my particular interest is once you start to have meetings for meetings, then it's not so interesting anymore. So, one of the things that we need to do is can you hear me?
Yeah, of course,
Yeah,
yes.
I see you going like this coming in. I'm like, wow, it must be really interesting.
Yeah, it was interesting
But,
points.
it's one of the things, I've done 17 companies. I know I'm really good at taking a company up to a Series B, and that's what I like. Honestly, that's what I like, and that's what GSD does. We're really good and creative about it. The same thing with my partner Derek. That's what we do. We understand we don't like, we're not necessarily interested in going past the Series B. Can we do it? Absolutely. So one of the things that we do is you look for people that can complement your skill sets. Remember, it's really important. You look for people that have skill sets out of yourself. So when I did EVA, I use my own personal experience. David Yang is he's a genius in artificial intelligence, a billionaire. So, I look for people that really can complement the skill sets of the CEO. Bill Gates once said that, he said, I'm not the smartest person in the world, but I hire people that are smarter than me. You got to understand that's the best person. Find people that can really complement your skill sets, that can help you build the company. Is it easy? No. I look for flexibility. I look for passion, optimism, visualization, because listen, building a startup isn't easy. There's ups and downs and ins and outs. You need people that can hang in with you through the downs and relish in the ups. I went to dinner with Rupert Murdoch's right-hand man, Andrew Straczynski, and I was humbled. I went out also with Carl Page, who invited me, who's a brother of the founder of Google. And this was just 3 years ago. And Andrew Straczynski bought the Wall Street Journal for $4 billion. And we had a couple of drinks, and I don't drink much, but I really had too many drinks. And he said, Straczynski said, I've studied 3,000 of the top entrepreneurs in the world. And I said, and I was fascinated. I said, what's one characteristic that you found in all the early stage entrepreneurs that's helped them succeed? And he said, amnesia. And I said, amnesia. He said, they don't talk about the past. They don't let it hold them down. Right? You need to look today and the future, not the past. It's like a boat anchor. So those are the kind of things that you look at. And also the ability to speak, the ability to convey the message. Somebody said humble. Of course, being humble, that's life, right? I mean, you don't have all the answers. You got to find people, and have fun. Be happy. The glass is half full, not half empty. You don't want to be around some negative person all the time. Oh, I don't know. Maybe this will work. Maybe it won't work. The thing is, if you don't believe in yourself and the dream, you shouldn't be doing it. So convey that message. And guess what? People come around.
Sure, Gary. Thank you so much. I can't see you, though.
Oh, you can't see me? Oh.
No, your video was switched off.
Well, that's what you were looking at.
Yeah, I
was wondering why you were looking at me. Like, you kept going like this. And I'm thinking, well, maybe it's my voice.
Yeah, I didn't interrupt you because I thought probably you would off video.
I'm here. It's so funny, Sonny, because everybody was doing this. And I'm trying to think.
I almost jumped into the picture.
They're coming in closer and closer. I don't know what to do.
Yeah, sorry. I thought you deliberately put yourself on the
No, what happened is I have my Basset down here with me, and she was moving around a bit. She was looking at me, so I had to move her out. So I had turned it off for a minute.
Okay, it's okay. It happens. We sometimes go on mute and off video. It's okay. Okay, thank you so much. First round. Second question, I have another interesting question before Maxim takes over. Do you think the CEO of any startup, as an investor when you're investing into, or a founder, should be from an MBA background? Is that important, along with several years of experience from another startup, exits and stuff? Or are you looking for somebody who is from the enterprise as well, that brings in that sort of experience, plus some entrepreneurial experience, plus an MBA degree? I'm emphasizing on MBAs because I think we have been taught, good entrepreneurs should have this business knowledge, and that comes from the MBA studies. So this is very critical for me as well to understand what exactly are as investors who looking beyond those leadership and all those traits that you just mentioned, like in terms of education. So let's start with Vandana first. Vandana, over to you.
So thanks, Sunny. So the thing is that it is not really important to have an MBA degree. I mean, look at it this way: what are you going to do with that degree if you don't know how to run your show? The most important thing is, having those leadership qualities, having a positive attitude, being able to run your show well, and being able to grow your company, and staying grounded at all times. So I think this would really be, these are one of the good qualities and a CEO should have. Um, if you have an MBA degree, it's an added advantage because, of course, people recognize you well in that manner. But, just having the degree and not being able to run the show, it really doesn't match like that. So I really don't look at that. But of course, if the the founder has a good educational background and is able to run the show and is able to uh, have good revenues in his company, is able to run the show completely well, I would look into that kind of founder. So it's not that I'm always looking for people who are from Harvard or people who have MBAs. These days, Harvard is also has online courses which anybody can take it and call themselves Harvard educated that way. So I think this is my take here.
Right. Thank you, Vandana, for sharing your views. Marin, what are your views?
Pretty similar. Any academic background like MBA or others, and also corporate experience in various roles is certainly not a must-have. It's a nice-to-have for CEO. We are more looking into inspirational leaders who can really motivate the team, transfer the story of the startup, especially if it's early-stage startups. I'm pretty much in line what Gary said, actually, with one exception. We want to allow everything. We want a CEO who allows everything internally, but nothing externally. So complete flexibility in the company, try out things, really be on the half full glass side and be very flexible. So we've heard some comments already from the fellow participants today. It's pretty much what we are looking for, steering a boat in a cloudy environment. That's what we are looking for. I would also want to mention, and then depending on the academic background and past corporate experience, we would rather focusing on chief operating officers. So if you're hiring a chief operating officer as an add-on to a startup board, then we are looking more into experience in corporate methods and so forth.
Perfect. Thank you so much for sharing your views, Marin. Karthik, what are your views about education, degrees, MBAs versus years of serial entrepreneurial experience?
So I don't think it's either or. It's always and. And also the most important thing is how much time do I have? If I have a couple of years with me, I'll hire somebody and I'll hone the skill sets and build competencies. But to eliminate doubt in my mind and to pick up somebody who's already come through the roots, I would pick up somebody who comes with a very strong academic background. And depending on what stage of my business is or where do I want to set the person in, I would look at his past experience, pedigree in terms of successes, pedigree in terms of vision, pedigree in terms of execution finesse, pedigree in terms of organizational management, resource optimization, because I don't have an unlimited pot of gold with me. So if I'm going to invest into him, he needs to understand what is the timeline in which he needs to start delivering. More importantly, a sense of accountability. Sense of accountability. I mean, I might even waive off his educational requirements if I have 5 years to study and understand him. But because I need to select people from a pool of individuals available, I use education as a filter because that brings in certain basic requirements. He's gone through the hoops in his life. So I might necessarily look at an MBA or at least a very strong academic background. More importantly, I would look at his past experience of managing things and managing people.
Great points. Great points. Thank you, Karthik, for your views. Harsh, what are your views?
Hi. So actually, being like a premier B school MBA myself, I would definitely say that it definitely adds a lot of benefits in terms of having the business knowledge, the business sense, and the fact that Karthik pointed out, right? You have a track record of historic academic success. You have a lot of accountability, a lot of processes. You have all that benefits which are there, which someone from a premier B school candidate has. But at the same time, some of those can be limitation as well, right? Because we tend to be a bit experimental, but you tend to be very risk averse as well. So there are definitely pros and cons to the same as well, and it's definitely not a prerequisite. It's a good to have, and definitely someone with a premier B school background has a lot of skills with them and can add a lot of value. But at the same time, I would not say that it's mandatory to have that way, because they tend to have their own limitations in terms of the kind of they the most of the academic study, what we do is in the form of case studies, right? So we are kind of using the past examples to and learn from the past case studies and bringing it to new companies. However, by definition, startups are kind of companies which have kind of never been created before. So you don't have anything to model from, and you have something to create from scratch. So at the same time, there are some qualities which are required, like extreme tenaciousness,
Yeah.
extreme resilience, extreme innovation, and as Gary pointed out, some sort of amnesia, to kind of forget the mistakes that you're making and move on. You have to be willing to take the risks and move on constantly, which I sometimes find MBAs tend to be a little hard with. That they tend to be a little risk averse. So that is why I would say it's like a balance. It's a good to have, but at the same time, it's definitely not mandatory.
Great points. Great points, Harsh. Thank you so much. Again, we can see you. So
Yay!
go ahead.
I'm here. So, from my standpoint, and I have in our portfolio, I have Stanford MBAs that are the CEOs and co-founder companies with me today. And so it's the ability to be able to be creative and think out of the box, because when you've developed a company, you're creating something new, right? It's not like you got to be able to think through it, and you got to be able to pivot and change all the time. I know when we did Eva with David Yang, I mean, I had to pivot the company 3 times, and it wasn't easy. So we were Google like search for the personal cloud first. It didn't work because people didn't want to pay for it. Then I did a smart assistant. Google came out with smart assistants, and you can't compete with something that's free. And then I took the same patents and I pivoted over to workforce management and AI and HR tech, and we took off, right? So, and from I can take my own person. I'm a psychologist. And my undergraduate degree is in psychology and business. My graduate degree is in psychology. So I can tell you from my own experience, when you're going down through this, it's being able to, from my perspective, right? It's being creative. Steve Jobs didn't have an MBA. Mark Zuckerberg doesn't have an MBA. It's to be able to figure it out. It's not, it's not easy. Resilience. Remember, there was a great boxer, Muhammad Ali, once said, it's not the person that gets knocked down. It's a person that gets back up again. That's really important when you're doing a startup, because there's a lot of those kind of times that you're down and you got to figure it out. You got to figure it out, and you got to be able to take your team and instill that in them. How can we figure it out? Let's not stop. It's not a roadblock. Let's figure it around. If it's too high, how do we go under it? If it's too low, how can we jump over top of it? So it's all the time creativity is incredibly important. So if that MBA has a creativity, it's great. One thing that's really important is being able to understand financial statements and understand finance, because it's not easy. So you either figure it out, you have to hire somebody. What I've done personally is I fired people that have finance backgrounds and walked down through the statements so I could figure out how to build them. So one of the things is, can you pick up that skill set or not? And again, through different stages of the company, different skills are required. I would say the longer the person's in the company, so let's say through a Series B, you're probably going to want somebody more operational. I always say when you start having meetings, it's time to go.
Right. Got it. Thank you, Gary. Thank you for sharing your views about that person as well. Perfect. I'm done with my first round of question about this person, like the CEO of the startup. Maxime, any
Yep.
from you? Over to you.
Yeah, having some questions from my side. Thank you, Sonia. So first question to Gary. So if you say about CEO, no secret that it's a core function. It's like a team player, key team player inside the team, and it's like a one-man band and should align all functions like a corporate strategy, like team building, like communication with external stakeholders. So, and in your view, how we can define successful mindset of the CEO? What is it?
Successful mindset of the CEO, or like I said, I mean, creativity is really important. Resilience is important. To be able to understand, to get through, it's, and to not give up. These are kind of the soft side of it, but to not give up. It can't be like, oh, I don't know, я надеюсь, может быть, in Russian, I don't know, I hope. It's just, you can't have those kind of things. You either believe in your dream or not. And if you can't convey that message, to the audience, to your team, and to the world, it's not going to succeed. Do you believe in your dream? And it's not like maybe it'll work, maybe it won't. Can you convey that? So those are the kind of things that are really important. And to be able to present, to get in front of an audience and practice. Steve Jobs would take 6 weeks before he would go on stage at the Moscone Center in San Francisco to practice. People said, oh, he's such a great speaker. He was not a good speaker. You got to practice. So get out and practice, because what is it about? Think about it. We're here on Zoom today.
Yeah.
We're in this digitally transformed world. You need to convey that message and make it precise and to the point. So those kind of skills, and it's tweaked a little bit in the last year, but those kind of skills, can they get the message out? Can they get interest from the audience? It's hard to raise money, right? It's not the same as it was a year ago. I mean, hard in the sense that it's different. So it's not like you can go out to lunch with somebody. Oh, let's go down in El Camino Real in Palo Alto. Let's have breakfast or lunch. Let's talk. I want to get to know you. It's different now, right? So who can use the mediums wisely? And those are the kind of skill sets that are important. And again, in the VCTV, in the beginning of the pandemic, things have changed. The way we convey the message on a global basis, the democratization of opportunities changed. Now it's a huge opportunity. So can they use it or not? Do they have credibility or not? Do they do what they say they're going to do or not? Those are the kind of things that are important. Do you believe in them?
Thank you, Gary, for this comprehensive answer. Fully agreed with you. So my next question to Kartik. So let's discuss about leadership styles inside startups. Yep, I want to clarify from my side. What do you think? What type of leadership are more successful? It's like hands-on, when CEO providing the deep diving inside all process, or it's model like hands off, when CEO like a boss just providing high level, just helicopter view. So please, could you share your view?
So I think it's never going to be a hands-off leadership. More often than not, in startups, you'd find a CEO being a thinker and a doer, and then wearing both hats simultaneously and not sequentially. You would need somebody who sets the ground rules, who sets the goals, who sets the vision, who manages the board, who manages the investors, and then more often than not goes out to do and lead and show lead from the front, necessarily executing, necessarily implementing the strategies and making sure that the fail-safe limits are never breached, which is where he brings in a very strong sense of accountability, his ability to manage, his ability to tolerate mistakes. More often than not, I've seen startup CEOs are so wary and I'd rather say scared of the investors that they don't allow an organization to make mistakes, and they build in those very strong fail-safe levels, which curbs the growth of an organization. So you'd rather want somebody who's ambitious, who's a very strong entrepreneurial leader, who brings in a very strong sense of cohesive learning. You'd have people with different experiences, different pedigrees, working in an ambiguous environment. So you don't need a boss, you need a leader who can comfort and bring the best out of every employee in a manner that you get the exponential growth in the first few quarters or first few weeks of the business. So that's the kind of leader I would look at.
Yep, thank you, Kartik, for this. So my next question to Harsh. So if we will discuss about long-term value creation. There is no secret that it's one of the key functions of the CEO inside each organization. So, but if you say about the like exponential growth cases here inside companies, so by what factors is defined? Is defined by clear implementation of CEO vision. It's defined by ambitious employees. It's defined by maybe something else factors. Could you share your experience on this?
I'm sorry, I could not get the question properly. Could you repeat that? Your voice wasn't very clear.
Yep. For in a nutshell, I may just repeat the question. It means that by which factors defining the exponential growth of the companies? It's following the CEO vision. It's clear implementation of the strategy. It's ambitious employees or something else.
So it's actually a combination of factors, right? One thing which I see is, even though we are having this discussion for the CEO, I kind of believe all the great companies are created not by a single founder, but at least two co-founders in a pair, right? As Marin kind of pointed out, you have a CEO and a COO, right? The CEO leads the company with the vision, with the motivation. He's the one who rallies the employees, drives the company towards a bigger vision, achieving the bigger goals of the organization. He's the guy who's the driver and ensures that everyone is aligned with the company vision. And you have the COO, who's the guy who's down in the trenches, getting shit done on a regular basis, getting the things which are required, and getting his hands dirty, right? So you need actually a combination of the two. Finding the combination of two skills in a single person has rarely been possible. In most cases, you always require two people working at that together to kind of take it to the next level. And additionally, as far as growth is concerned, so I used to be a growth marketer myself, right? So the most important aspects of as a growth marketer, which we used to stress on, is you need to focus that your company grows on a 5 to 10% on a weekly basis, and you do that by constantly creating new experiments on a weekly basis. You have new experiments for your product team where you test out small different elements of your features. You want to add this feature, you want to add that feature. You tweak that on a weekly basis. Likewise, with your growth and marketing strategies, you tweak that on a weekly basis, and see whether you're seeing the growth or not. And as soon as you're constantly developing and growing based on the learnings that you've gotten. So that is one of the key elements, and that fact is applicable not just for a company but as an individual as well. So there's this book called Atomic Habits by James Clear, right? It's like one of the most phenomenal books out there. The basic premise of the book is simple. If you can grow, the most innovation doesn't happen by doing something landmark on a single day, but it happens by doing small degrees of innovation on a daily basis, on a consistent basis. And when those gains kind of add up, and then you end up with a huge growth, right? So if you grow yourself by 5% every week, by the end of the year you would have grown 36 times. That is how much growth you can see. Likewise, on an individual level, if you can grow like 1% on a daily basis, by the end of the year you can easily grow like 70 times. So that is the essential factor, that you need to constantly keep growing, constantly try something new, and constantly be moving up. And if you go even 1% behind, within a year you will be down to zero. So this is one of the crucial mindset which is required, that constantly be constantly push yourself, constantly expose yourself to your weaknesses, push yourself through new challenges, and constantly move forward towards new and new innovations.
Thank you, Harsh, for this insights. So, Sony, that's a question from my side.
Okay.
Yeah.
Perfect. Thank you, Maxime, for asking those questions. Okay, I've got a question, very practical. How does the day in the life of a CEO looks like? For example, let's talk about if Gary hires a CEO of one of his startup portfolio, how his day is going to look like. So starting from Karthik, I love that.
I love this. This is exactly what I go through. And fortunately or unfortunately, I handle 4 different businesses, and my day begins like I'm getting into a battle zone. And by the time I come out, I don't know which battle did I fight, which one did I win, and how many am I going to lose. But typically it starts, and depending on where you are in a business, if you are in a semi-solid or semi-steady state business, you start by typically identifying where your business was yesterday. And if you are into a typical retail business, as I am in a startup or an e-commerce business, you would necessarily go into how did your market, how did your consumers, how did your business, how did your indices work yesterday, like for like, or wherever you are. And then you get into identifying your key priorities in terms of what developmental stage, what department, what functional requirements need to do. By the time you finished all of it, you suddenly get into an understanding that either your bankers have come to you or your finance controllers have let you down on certain issues, and money is suddenly out of the bag and you don't know. By the second half of the day, you get into an understanding that now it's the time to get the organizational geared up. You have people who need to be recruited. You have relationships and partners that need to be updated up. And by the end of the day, you also have your investors waiting for the end of the day call, where you need to go and tell them that, yes, boss, this is what happened and this is where we failed, and we're going to come back fighting again tomorrow. And then if you have partners or principals or brands in different parts of the world, the day goes on. So the day begins with a structural review of the business and then gets into resource optimization. And any time you need to be ready to get into a firefighting mode, because more often than not, you'd realize only after things have gone wrong. As a startup, you haven't built proactive systems till now so that you understand that things might go wrong. It's only more often you only come to know of issues after they've happened. So you need to be ready to handle and ward them off. And you do not have that level of bench strength and organizational structures to make sure that things seamlessly move at every point in time. Whenever things go wrong, you need to be ready to jump in, sort it out like a samurai, and again come back with a smiling face to keep the show going. So that's how a typical CEO's life goes on in a semi-solid or semi-stable business.
Okay, what about the early stage? How different that would be?
Early stage would be a new challenge every day. It would be like writing a story. In an early stage business, you're still building. So what you left last night, the business is more or less in the same state this morning, and you'd be charting, building onto your story. All that you'd be doing is building a continuum. You're not necessarily a CEO in an early stage business. Till the time, and I would be very wary of calling somebody a CEO or building a CEO till the time the business goes out on the ground. Till that time, everybody is a team player or a founding member, and then you necessarily assign roles, so that is where you build structures and hierarchies of the organization. So in early stages, everybody is doing developmental work. You left certain codes, you left certain SOPs, you left certain financials, you left certain investment thesis or some certain technical parameters previous night that you need to continue. So what necessarily drives and a typical CEO's day or a typical co-founder's day in early stages is primarily about managing time, managing resources, and living up to the milestones that they've set for themselves, and more importantly, the investors have set for themselves.
And how frequently should they be catching up with their investors? How frequently? What's the frequency?
So it also depends on the maturity of the investors, and it also depends on how vivid or how reliable that relationship and how pedigreed the co-founders and CEOs are. If I am a large investor who's got multiple business interests and have, after multiple rounds of evaluation, invested in a startup, I would give them that much more space to perform and wouldn't want to catch up more than once a week or more than even once a fortnight. But if I am a very nimble-footed investor and if I've just said I have $100,000 and I've given 50 out of that to somebody else to invest in his business, then I would be catching up with him every evening on a phone call. Did you do your job? So it depends on who the investor is. But as an investor, I do not catch up with businesses more than once a month. And as a CEO of a business, I do not, and I've been fortunate enough not to be caught up with my investors and principals for more than once a quarter.
And very important question, how does the weekend looks like?
There are no weekends. There are no weekends for CEOs and there are no weekends for startups. It again is a function of how passionate you are, what side of a business are you in, and how disciplined you are. If you're disciplined, if you're structured, you will always find time for yourself. Irrespective of what business you are in, if you're not able to create time for yourself and your family, you're setting yourself up for a failure. And you cannot continue running at the same pace forever. And you're setting a wrong example to the organization. You as a leader might want to work 7 days a week, but expecting your organization to work 7 days a week unstinted is not something that is realistic, and it's not something that's going to create a workplace of choice. So weekends are difficult. It depends on what interests and what aptitude do you have and where do you see your organization growing. For example, I can work 6 to 7 days a week, but that doesn't mean that I expect my organization to work with me. So yeah.
Got it. Thank you, Karthik, for sharing those views. Harsh, over to you.
Yeah. So as Karthik kind of illustrated pretty well, the CEO's life is completely filled with, he is constantly walking on a minefield where he has to ensure that every step he takes doesn't let off a minefield bomb over there. and which could lead to a cascading trigger of blasts as well. So it's a very complicated state of affairs. It's extremely important to meticulously manage your entire day, right? Because the number of tasks which are required, the number of the number of people you have to answer to, so see, people think CEO is this glamorous position, right? He has
Yeah.
so much power, he has so much. People think being in the CEO position, it's like you have so much authority over people, you are the boss, but that is actually not the case. You are answerable to your employees, you're answerable to your investors, you're answerable to multiple stakeholders, you're answerable to your customers. The liabilities never end. So it takes a really courageous person to become a CEO. It is filled. It's just like So back just when the COVID started, right? I got this very interesting graphic of what the CEO's life looks like. His back is stabbed with all these knives, and yet he's interacting with his employees with a smiling face, because he always has to ensure that his employees are constantly motivated to get their job done, right? So that is what an employee CEO's life is like. He has to very meticulously manage each and every hour of his life and ensure that the company is in the right track, ensure the vision of the company is in the right track, and each and everything is communicated very effectively. So it's not an easy job, definitely. If you just look at some of the leading examples which did not work out well in the last couple decades, John Scully was the legendary PepsiCo CEO who came to Apple, and unfortunately, a couple years down the line, the company was in a very bad shape, and Steve Jobs kind of came back to rescue the company. You look at Marissa Mayer with Yahoo, same thing. Company is struggling to kind of recover back its glory days, right? So it's very easy to blame on the CEO that the CEO didn't do the job well, and he kind of screwed the company. But if you look at the kind of the troubles and the difficulties that they face, it's like a crown, but it's a crown of thorns. It's not a golden crown. It's a crown of thorns.
Crown of thorns. Rightly said, actually. Thank you. Sorry, do you want to add something before I interrupted you? Were you done?
I'm done. Yeah.
Sorry,
You're done?
Maran,
Okay.
you would like to add something? Yes.
Yeah, if it's my turn, I'd like to add something. So I don't know what the CEOs of our portfolio companies are doing. Not at all. But I know they have the telephone number of all investment committee members. And I also know that they are going to call us if they are heading towards one of the rails. So what about the rails? We touched that topic before, and I think it's very important that any CEO, and so that the supervisory board or investment committee needs to do, gives direction and set the rails. They can be wider, they can be a little bit narrower in this way or that way, depending on stage and economic conditions. So I'm sure a CEO will call us if they need advice and if they are heading actually to one of the rails, not if they are touching the rail even beforehand, to see how can we turn around the business development. So I think that's very important. We also have to take care that we don't run into that trap of micromanagement, being involved in everything, and expecting immediate replies from your startups if you shoot out an email also. So we have a monthly report. That monthly report, we are reading it. If it's in line of the direction, there will be no meeting and there will be no talks if none of the parties requests for it. We are meeting 4 times a year. Everybody is getting a pre-read, and then we have a discussion. This doesn't mean that we go undercover or we want CEOs to go undercover, but there needs to be a trigger. Hey, let's talk. Let's talk. I need your advice, but it's not that controlling stage. Regarding weekends and employee well-being, regarding expectation management, you send an email or you will receive an email. A couple of minutes later, you'll receive a WhatsApp announcing that an email has been sent to you. And if you don't respond to the WhatsApp, hey, what happens next? Your phone is ringing. So we try to calm down that expectation management. And I don't want to say we want to go slow. Slow doesn't work in startup. It needs to be flexible and super fast. Speed counts. That's the fuel of a startup. But we also need to be a little bit structured and do expectation management. So how did we do that? We tried out a lot of things. So these days we have an understanding internally in most startups if they decided to do so, but especially in the connection to us as an investor, to our investment committee. There are 2 slots a day, and everybody is setting them individually to answer emails. So nobody is expecting an immediate answer by default. You will get an answer during the day, but you have to wait. If it's super urgent, we pick up the phone and say, hey, now it's urgent. We need to talk. That's one topic. The other topic is we are motivating everybody actually to block focus time and to block private time in their calendars, and then to silence all notifications. It has various reasons. For sure, it's for the well-being. Secondly, it's also to safeguard your private life. And thirdly, it's to have time where you really can concentrate and focus on something. Didn't we all kind of experience that? Some time ago, you had 1 hour or 2 hours to focus on something. If you need to do, especially in studies, a little thesis or case study or whatsoever, and now it's all cut in little bits and pieces. We are easily distracted. So that's the third topic.
So what stage are these startups in?
Seed, Series A, Series B, Series C, and we do also hold stakes in very major companies. So it's a little bit of everything.
So across all the seats, you're going to have catch up like 4 times a year. It's the same. Okay.
Yeah, it's the same. It's the same for everybody and for any stage. That's by default. These are the meetings. We have set agendas. We have extraordinary items. We always have pre-reads, and then everybody is present. It's a discussion on interaction, really, and on advice. Then we have the monthly reports, which are sent over into a tool. We have a look at it, and if somebody wants to discuss a topic, we discuss it. If something goes red, well, then there needs to be a discussion for sure, internally or with our investment committee. That's how we run the show. And there's no difference on seed to corporates.
Okay, great. Thank you, Maren. Thank you for sharing your views. Gary, over to you. 4 times in a year, or Karthik says 7 days in a week?
I think for Gary, it's day and night.
So the situation is you need to have, so on one side, you need to have some private time. You need to decompress. So whenever that is, I particularly like to work a lot. So I work from 5 to 11 o'clock at night. I personally like it. I enjoy it. I do carve out time during the day, personally, to go bike riding or whatever, an hour or 2 hours or whatever. I carve some time out to be able to decompress. In terms of, being able to address, depending on the stage of the company, many times we'll do monthly meetings with the investors. So we'll have board meetings every month. And the reason is to be able to, when you're doing a startup, it's about having a pulse check every single day to understand where that company is. And I look at the board members from my standpoint as really partners, and I want their input as part of the team because they got valuable experience. I mean, think about all the knowledge that's here just on the panel today. So everybody has a different way of looking at things. And one thing happens when you're the CEO of a company is you get really tunnel vision. You're so focused on getting something done, you may forget about something that's on either side. And having a really good board to be able to give you that information is important. In terms of monthly reports, every month we do a report, and that's part of the board meeting, right? So you present it to the board, you review it, where are we? And especially in early stage startup, because things change so quickly, right? You're changing all the time. You're pivoting, you're changing. And the main characteristic is customer development. Do you have something that people really want to buy in an early stage company? Many times what will happen is there'll be technology founders that believe that people are going to buy this no matter what. And so we don't care what the opinion is, they're going to buy it. In reality, you've got to go out and continually test and validate your hypothesis to make sure that people really want to buy it. And as Bob Dorsch says, grab it out of your hands. So from my standpoint, it's no matter what stage of the company, we do monthly meetings, and we have board meetings to get input from members, different ideas. And we like to have, we don't want to have dumb money. We want smart money. Smart money to give insight, because dumb money you can get, but smart money where you have great team members that can give you insights. And by the way, your ideas, when I look at it, every one of the board members is somebody that's going to invest in my next company, right? They're going to be interested. So you're doing a great job and they want to be on board because everybody reaps in the benefits.
Thank you, Gary. Thank you for sharing your views as well. So it's a monthly board meeting for Gary. Thank you. Vandana, over to you.
So, Sunny, this is a very, I can just go on and on for this question. See, everybody is hustling in their own way. I think each and everybody is trying to deal with so many things which sometimes they speak about, sometimes they don't. So typically for me, on weekdays, the day begins at 5 o'clock. I do my exercises, my walks, come back home, and I start my day at 10. Then I'm on and on the entire day till sometimes at 12 midnight. And after 12 midnight, my bandwidth goes away. So, on weekends, on Sundays, I totally detox myself from gadgets, from clients, from everybody. And I take enough rest so that, I can charge myself up and get back to the hustle again. So for working women, it's something different. We have to hustle more than just being a CEO. I have to manage my kids also. Sometimes I'm getting calls from school. Sometimes something else is happening. So it's a lot more thing, which we go to from day to day in our day-to-day life. So I guess we are all firefighting. I'm sure you are also, and like Gary mentioned and the others, that we are all firefighting in our own way. But the main, the thing is we need to be calm, composed, have fun with whatever we are doing, even if it's dealing with the worst situation. Just enjoy, have fun, and just be calm at everything that you're doing, and just do it with a smiling face. I think you get everything gets sorted very easily. So I really enjoy my work, and I love doing what I'm doing. So I really don't have those days of, I do have a lot of days of commotion, but I just take it as a fun thing and deal with it every day. So that's
Right.
about.
So I think this is another topic for another day: women CEOs versus male CEOs. Okay.
For this one, you're going to invite me for this one. Please make sure that I'm invited, and make sure Vandana is invited on this one as well. Vandana, that party is still not over. I keep watching the same episode every day, and I keep thinking, when am I going to get one more go at this one?
Definitely.
Yeah. Thank you, Vandana, for sharing your day.
Yeah.
Your schedules in a day and everything else. We understand, obviously, as for families as well. And thank you so much for making this very enriching for me. Gary, Harsh, Karthik, Moraine, Vandana, all of you have different viewpoints about this person, which is fair enough, which is good, which is, should be like that. Thank you very much. We probably have another session. I'll talk to the team and have another session to digress even further more into this person. It's interesting. I hope everybody liked this show today, the speakers. I thoroughly enjoyed myself. This brings us to the end of the show. Quickly closing remarks. Just one more minute before we hit 8 p.m. Sorry, 7:30 p.m. So quickly closing remarks for the weekend. Let's start with Vandana.
Yeah, like I always say, thank you, Sunny, for having me on this show again and again. This show is for like-minded people. We connect from people all over the world. We impart our knowledge and give insights. So I would recommend many people to come on this platform and speak out their mind like how we do. And thank you for having me on this show. Just one more thing which I wanted to add is one very important characteristics of being a CEO is being fearless. You have to take out the fear from your mind and just be, courageous. If you fear, you're going to just limit yourselves from achieving the goals. So I think, be fearless, do things from your conscious level, read the book, Power of the Subconscious Mind, and be positive always. Thank you.
Thank you, Vandana. We've a lot of viewers and a lot of comments coming from people watching this show today, and they're really loving your insights. Thank you. And some of them said that they can relate. Thank you, Vandana. Maren, over to you with your closing remarks.
Beside regular meetings between larger groups, so the leadership team and your investors, my advice is keep checking in on one-to-ones with all of your team members and with all of your portfolio companies and vice versa. This is even more important these days as we do a lot of remote work, and you need to feel the temperature and get in touch on one-to-one discussions with everybody. And sometimes one-to-one discussions is just easier for more introvert people to speak out about their feelings, about their worries, or about their ideas. So that would be my advice for today. Thanks for having me.
Thank you, Marian. Thank you so much for sharing your views and insights, and lovely having you back. Karthik, your closing remarks for the weekend.
So the CEO in a startup is typically like a boxer in a ring. It's not about how hard he can hit or how hard he can get hit. It's about how many times he falls and he comes back to fight. And then ultimately, how does he win? And that's how startups win. That's how they succeed. So I would always bet on a person who brings in resilience, ambiguity management, and more importantly, ability to take risk. And thank you for hosting me once again. It was a pleasure meeting all of you. And now let me go out for a beer this evening. Thank you.
Have fun, Karthik. Cheers. Thank you for joining us all the time at VCTV, and great insights from you as always. Thank you. Harsh, your closing remarks.
Sure. So Karthik kind of took the words out of my mouth itself. The kind of point which he mentioned. If anyone has seen the movie Rocky Balboa, that's kind of the dialogue which he says to his son, and it's one of the most inspirational, motivational quotes I've ever read. So the life is going to keep hitting you harder. All you have to do is take the hits and keep moving forward. You have to be doing that. That is the only way you're going to succeed, because the life of the CEO is very tough. So at the same time, I suggest as a CEO, it is very easy for a person to get truly engaged in kind of not being able to trust anyone and try to micromanage everything. So you need to be ensure you need to have the trust in your employees, to delegate the work to them, and try and delegate as much as you can, so that you don't have to end up doing your time doing operational stuff. So that is one of the important lessons I would like to give. And as always, glad to be here, glad to be with you, Sonny and Gary, Karthik, Vandana and Maren. Amazing session as always, and looking forward for more such family reunions.
Oh yes, there you go. Family reunion like that. Thank you. Gary, the next family member.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I was going to use the Rocky Balboa and get back up, and it's not the person gets down, it's the person gets up. But also, it's kind of like Forrest Gump. Life is like a box of chocolates. You just never know what you're going to get. So, being a CEO is like that. You never know. But it's a person that can deal with it, get the job done. So you got to stay positive. You got to stay happy. You got to be optimistic. You got to believe in your dreams. You got to visualize where you want the company to go and have that really cemented in your mind and paint those pictures. Because if you do that, things start to line up to move the company in that direction. Happiness, joy, optimism brings people around. It builds a group, because people want to be around people that are happy and optimistic. They don't want to be around folks that are negative. It doesn't work. So that's how you build a team. And listen, it's never easy, but guess what? It's a lot of fun. So, people can reach me on LinkedIn or Twitter, Gary Fowler. Great to hear from them, and looking for those incredible AI and quantum companies. So, great to be here.
Thank you, Gary. Thank you so much for all the viewers to be part of this VCTV family and coming back on this family reunion, get together like Harsh just mentioned like that. Familiar faces. And yeah, thank you so much for being a part of VCTV. And I always thoroughly look forward to this time every day to come back and talk to you all. I mean, this keeps me going for the rest of my day. So I think I'm very excited to host this show as always. So yeah, it's a Friday and Karthik is going to have his beer, and for me as well, it's a weekend, and of course for Gary, it's coming to the end of the day, and all of us just unwind over the weekend. Thank you so much. I'll be back on Monday with another set of topics for the week, another set of speakers. Till then, keep watching VCTV. You can do the playbacks as much as you can and learn from whatever the speakers have shared today. So yeah, that's it. That's all for me, and have a great weekend, all of you. See you again on Monday. Bye bye.
Bye bye.